He laughed so loudly that the sound echoed across the water, a sharp noise that broke the stillness of the afternoon. Champagne spilled from his glass as he pointed toward the pool, where I stood with the net. He did not look at my face. He looked at my hands, at my clothes, and decided I was there to serve him. His guests watched with the same amused confidence, certain the transaction was already sealed. He lifted his glass again and told me to clean the pool before the next showing. Then he declared to the people around him that the house was sold and that the former owners needed to move along. The papers had not even reached the table, but he spoke as if signatures were formalities reserved for lesser men. Every word was delivered with the certainty of someone who believed his wealth replaced courtesy. I placed the net on the ground and stepped closer. The group continued to laugh, unaware that their celebration rested on a misunderstanding. There are moments in life when age gives you a quiet advantage. You learn when to speak and when to remain still. You learn how the right sentence can change the rhythm of a room. When I finally spoke, the sound was calm enough to make them turn. I told him I was not the pool boy. I told him I was the seller. His smile froze, and for the first time he looked at me without arrogance. The laughter stopped as if someone had closed a door. I had not canceled the deal yet. I was deciding whether he deserved to lose it. Wealth creates a strange fog around certain people. It convinces them that the moment they express interest in something, it becomes theirs. That was the energy he carried from the first visit. He walked through the rooms as if they were already under his name. He spoke loudly about future renovations while ignoring the fact that nothing had been signed. The confidence did not come from certainty. It came from entitlement, the belief that ownership begins with desire rather than agreement. I watched him during each meeting and learned more from his behavior than from his words. He snapped his fingers at staff members who had worked on the property for years. He gave instructions to my lawyer as if he were addressing an assistant. He greeted the neighbors with the patronizing smile of a man who sees people as background. Wealth had made him forget that respect is not purchased. It is recognized. Age teaches you something no contract can teach. You stop reacting to provocation. You start observing the small details. I noticed how he never said thank you. I noticed how he interrupted everyone. I noticed how he corrected people simply to remind them he could. These small habits reveal a person more clearly than any financial statement. His arrogance did not offend me. It informed me. Buyers like him behave as if the world bends the moment they arrive. They treat transactions like conquests and people like decorations. They forget that nothing is final until ink touches paper. That is where quiet leverage lives. When someone shows you who they are before the signature, believe them. The beauty of a contract is that it speaks only when necessary. Long before this buyer appeared, I had asked my attorney to include a quiet provision in every sale involving the property. It was a simple idea. People reveal their character before they reveal their intentions. I wanted language that recognized this truth without creating unnecessary confrontation. No dramatic wording. No complex legal theory. Only a clear expectation of conduct between agreement and closing. Buried within the document was a morality clause that addressed buyer behavior. It required respect toward staff, vendors, and representatives connected to the sale. It also allowed the seller to withdraw without penalty if the buyer demonstrated actions that could disrupt the transition of ownership. Most buyers barely noticed it. Those who treated others with dignity never triggered it. That was the point. It was not written to trap anyone. It was written to protect the home and the people who cared for it. When my attorney and I created it, we had seen enough transactions to understand that money often magnifies temperament. Some buyers grow kinder as their world expands. Others grow careless. I wanted a safeguard for the careless ones. Experience teaches you to prepare for storms long before clouds gather. This clause was my umbrella. The buyer never read it. He skimmed for numbers and deadlines and ignored the sections that required self-awareness. His confidence made him blind to anything that limited his freedom. Yet that small paragraph was the quiet hinge on which the entire deal rested. Contracts do not punish arrogance. They wait for it. There is a certain confidence that settles into people who believe the outcome is already theirs. I recognized at the moment he began speaking as if the property were in his possession. Instead of correcting him, I stepped back and allowed his performance to continue. He spoke loudly about future plans, describing how he would reshape the place to reflect his vision. He ignored the staff standing nearby, offering instructions that held no authority. Every sentence carried a casual dismissal of the people around him, as though they were spectators to his triumph. I did not interrupt. I wanted the witnesses to hear him. The gardener paused at the gate. My attorney lingered in the hallway. Even the neighbors walking past slowed down at the sound of his voice. He bragged about the purchase price, about his influence, about the ease with which he collected properties. The more he spoke, the more he revealed. I watched, not with anger, but with the patience that age teaches you to cultivate. There is a moment in every negotiation when the balance shifts. Sometimes it happens with a document. Sometimes it happens with one careless sentence. On that afternoon, it happened with each word he delivered to impress an audience that had not asked for a show. His arrogance expanded until it filled the entire space. He believed he had already won, and in that belief he became careless with his attitude, his tone, and his assumptions. I remained quiet because I understood a simple truth, learned over years of dealing with people like him. Silence is not weakness. It is evidence gathering. The notice went out early the next morning. It was written in the same tone I use for every formal decision. Professional. Precise. Entirely free of emotion. My attorney delivered it with a calm voice, outlining the specific section of the agreement that allowed immediate withdrawal. The document contained only facts, dates, and observations recorded during the visit. There were no accusations. No commentary. Only the evidence required by the clause he never bothered to read. His lawyer called within the hour, confused by the sudden change. He had been assured by his client that everything was progressing smoothly. When my attorney explained the triggering behavior, the pause on the other end of the line lasted longer than expected. He requested clarification, then requested time. It was clear he understood exactly what had happened, even if the buyer did not. My attorney repeated the terms again, steady and patient, as if reciting a simple arithmetic rule. The buyer contacted me moments later. His tone had shifted from triumph to urgency. He insisted there had been a misunderstanding. He denied statements made in front of half a dozen people. When denial failed, he tried pressure. When pressure failed, he shifted to negotiation, offering concessions he had refused only days earlier. His confidence had drained completely, replaced by the fear of losing something he believed already belonged to him. I listened without interrupting. I had no reason to argue. The decision was complete, and the contract supported every step. He finally realized that no amount of influence or wealth could erase what had already been witnessed. He did not lose the house. He lost the illusion that money outruns behavior. He returned to the house that afternoon, hoping to regain control of the situation. The same people who had applauded his confidence earlier stood nearby, curious about the sudden shift in tone. When he stepped into the room, he carried a forced smile that barely held its shape. His eyes searched for reassurance, but none was offered. Everyone sensed the change before he spoke a single word. I watched his posture falter as my attorney handed him the printed confirmation. The page was short and clear. His fingers trembled slightly while he read the terms he had ignored. The earlier laughter that had filled the space had vanished. Even the soft hum of conversation faded as guests realized they were witnessing something rare. The champagne he had brought remained untouched on the table, its bubbles rising in silence. He looked around and saw the gardener observing from the doorway, the housekeeper standing at the stairs, the neighbors gathered near the patio. Every person who had heard his boasting was now witnessing the moment his certainty collapsed. His shoulders lowered as if the entire room had taken a step back from him. The confidence that had once overflowed now drained out of him completely. I did not raise my voice. I did not comment. I simply walked past him and opened the doors that led to the garden, reclaiming the space with a quiet authority that required no explanation. The house felt lighter. The air shifted. His presence no longer dominated anything. The realization settled into him slowly, painfully, publicly. True humiliation is not loud. It is when everyone sees the crown fall off by itself. After the cancellation, many expected me to act quickly. The market was strong, and several agents encouraged me to relist the property within hours. I thanked them for their enthusiasm, but made no immediate move. A calm mind sees opportunities that urgency often hides. I wanted the house to breathe again after the spectacle it had just hosted. I walked through each room and felt the quiet settle back into its walls. Some decisions deserve patience. In the following days, interested parties contacted my attorney, each hoping to claim the opportunity the previous buyer had squandered. I reviewed their profiles with deliberate care. I was not searching for the highest bidder. I was searching for someone who understood the weight of a transaction of this size. Buyers reveal their values long before they reveal their finances. I listened closely to the way they spoke to my representatives and to the workers maintaining the property. Tone tells a story numbers cannot. One potential buyer stood out immediately. He arrived without an entourage. He greeted everyone respectfully and asked questions that reflected genuine interest rather than dominance. He moved through the house with quiet appreciation and treated every person present with dignity. His offer came the next morning. It exceeded the original price without negotiation. I did not celebrate the increase. What mattered was the alignment between values and ownership. The home would pass to someone who understood care, not conquest. When we completed the signing, the process was smooth and free of drama, exactly as it should be. Respect increases value. Arrogance discounts it. If you are watching this and you are over 50, you already know that life teaches its sharpest lessons quietly. You learn that there is no need to raise your voice when you understand your own worth. You learn that experience is not something you announce. It is something you apply, one decision at a time, without seeking applause. Age gives you a kind of vision younger professionals rarely possess. You see character before you see numbers. You recognize patterns long before others sense a shift. I am not sharing this story to celebrate a moment of triumph. I am sharing it because too many seasoned professionals forget the influence they carry.
You do not need revenge.
You need position. You need structure. You need the calm confidence that comes from knowing you have prepared for every possibility. When someone disrespects you, the response is not to strike back. The response is to ensure that their behavior has consequences built into the design of your decisions. Experience teaches you how to step out of the way and let arrogance collide with its own momentum. It teaches you how to place conditions that reward those who behave with dignity and expose those who do not. It also reminds you that value increases when you protect your boundaries and decreases when you discount yourself to please others. Stand firmly in what you know. Protect your time, your work, and your legacy. Let others discover the cost of their own choices while you move forward with clarity. People who laugh before the signature often cry after the clause.